Welcome to Drizzleland. This is a special edition because this is all about Jim Carrey. Um, so we're gonna count down some of his well-known roles, and we're gonna talk about what he's basically done for acting, um, and everything that he has accomplished in his career. So let's start it off with his earlier work, which was in Living Color. Yes, he was on that show for a few seasons. Um, so the Williams brothers kind of gave him an opportunity to basically be goofy and be himself. Now the second part of this is after that he did a movie called Once Bitten, which was a comedy slash vampire movie, which was it's really funny if you've never checked it out. Um, so we'll move on to his film movies. So let's move on to Ace Ventura, which is one of my favorite movies. So this movie was good in its own way because it had Jim Carrey, Tone Loc, Courtney Cox, and I think Jennifer Tilly had a guest role in this movie as well. So the plot essentially is he's a secret pet detective which is hired to discover lost famous animals, and to try to collect ransom or try to basically steal them, um, back so that he can return them to the owners. Um, Essentially, he is signed on and accepts a case for the mascot for the Miami Dolphins, um, which the dolphin is stolen because these people have a link to a former player who was blamed for the Miami Dolphins lost in the Super Bowl in the 1970s. Um, I don't want to go too more in detail with the movie. I'll just say this: it is one of the most funniest movies I've ever seen with him in it. Okay, hang on here. The next movie is a cult classic movie that he was in. So, Dumb and Dumber, and then there was a sequel as well to this. Um, this movie is definitely out there. It's essentially about a limo driver and his best friend who works for a dog grooming company. Um, and hang on, the camera's screwing up here. Um, and essentially, the limo driver falls in love with a woman who he's never even talked to more than like probably two times. Um, but essentially, him and his best friend travel around the country trying to get to Aspen, Colorado, to deliver the briefcase back to this woman. But what we find out is that she left the briefcase for a whole different reason. So, yeah. And I don't want to go too in detail with the movie. I'll just say it's hilarious. There's a scene where they get pulled over by a cop, and um, before this, they had to go pee really bad. They couldn't stop at a rest stop, so they keep peeing into glass bottles and filling them up with pee. So the cop who pulls them over um, is giving them a hard time, like the typical state police would if they pull you over. So he grabs some of the beer and chews them out about drinking and stuff like that, and then he starts drinking the pee, which is it's really nasty, but I still think it's funny. So that's that movie. And then me, myself, and Irene has to be the most funniest Jim Carrey movie that I've ever seen. Um, Renee Zellweger is actually in this movie, which we all know her from um, Jerry Maguire and a few other movies. So essentially, this movie is about a young man who has a, well, let's just say he marries his high school sweetheart, but then she apparently falls in love with the guy who is driving the limo on their honeymoon. She has an affair with this guy, and they end up with two black babies, pretty much, who grow up to be his sons, but yet he doesn't recognize that, you know, that these two people are not really his biological children, but he raises them anyways. Um, and then essentially later on he starts going crazy and hearing voices and stuff like that. And then he becomes a different person. He becomes Hank, which Hank is violently, uncontrollably obsessive with getting back at people and hitting on women and things like that and getting punched in the face. It's definitely a different movie, a different role for him. But it's a movie that is worth checking out. It's really funny. Um, so we'll move on to Ace Ventura Pet Detective 2 When Nature Calls. Um, this movie is really, really funny. This movie is where he goes to Africa. He's signed on to try to find a, well, they call it the Great Bat or something like that. And the bat apparently is worth a lot of money to this African village. Um, and he encounters, like, there's a scene where he has to dress up in a rhino costume to, I don't know, I'm trying to think here. I think he disguises himself as a rhino to spy on these hunters who apparently are trying to look for the bat. Um, and they're poachers actually, and they're English. They're well-known poachers. Actually, they've captured several animals throughout the African wilderness, and so he's spying on them. The village needs the bat back because it is good luck for the village, to be able to have food and water and all this other stuff. So, anyways, he ends up having to go to this foreign village that it's not very friendly to him. In fact, they don't really like him. They force him to do um, a fight to the death, um, which is really funny. That's a funny scene if you guys have never seen it. Um, so that's Ace Ventura, Pet Detective Part 2. And let's talk about some of his other roles here. Let's talk about The Mask, which had a great cast in that movie, and it's really, really funny. There was even a cartoon series that was added onto it because people liked it so much. Um, Now, in that movie, Stanley Ipkiss is the typical guy who works at a bank. His life is pretty much in disarray because nobody is paying attention to him or really wants to go on dates with him or anything like that. He has a job at a bank where he gets in trouble for signing a loan out to a mafia girlfriend who's played by Cameron Diaz, which, if you've never seen this movie, she looks amazing in this movie. I mean, wow, oh my god. I mean, we're talking like high heels and nice dresses, and she's got her hair all done up. Um, so essentially, the mask falls in love with her though, because he finds the mask in the middle of the lake in the big city, because he dives down there because he thinks it's like a person who drowned or something, but really it's a magical mask, and so everybody thinks that he's nuts pretty much because they don't understand that the mask is magical. So when he puts the mask on, he turns into the mask, that's when the fun starts because he starts harassing his landlord because his landlord doesn't like him at all. She pretty much picks on him. So he gets back at her, and he essentially can turn into like cartoon characters when he has the mask on. Um, I don't know. It's hard to describe. Oh yeah, and the dog that was in Frasier, he's actually in this movie too. He plays his pet dog. So great cast, great plot, great movie. Um, I I don't know. I mean, I still watch it to this day. I think it's one of the better movies that he did. Um, so those are some of the movies that I think that he should be acknowledged for. I think I'll have to look up to see if there's any other movies that he's been in that should be on here. But those are the primary ones that I grew up watching that I think were really funny. Um, so the next one that I'm gonna do is gonna be on John Candy. Actually, I've been thinking about doing that. So we'll finish it there, and then after John Candy, we'll do Robin Williams because I know there's still a lot of Robin Williams fans out there. And then I'll kind of think about what we're gonna do after that. But maybe Will Ferrell. How about that? Maybe that. Yeah. So everybody have a wonderful day. This is a snowy day in April here in Indiana. Um, I did a video a few hours ago about the weather here and how crazy it is. We have about 2 inches of snow on the ground, and it's about 39 degrees right now. I don't really want to go outside. I did that yesterday and it was nicer. Um, but everybody stay nice and safe. And if you are in a city where there's crazy weather right now, just be cautious, be careful about others um, crossing and things like that if you're out driving. Um, much love, peace, and enjoy your day. Drizzleland out.